He's been with the company for 20 years, knows every single rule, every procedure, never had so much as a near miss. So why? Why did he just make a choice that could end his career or even his life? You see, to understand the accident, you have to go deeper. You have to understand the behavior. And that's what we're here to do. This is the science of behavior-based safety.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to kick things off with what I call the good worker paradox. Then we'll get into the real science with something called the ABC model. After that, we'll unpack the psychology behind taking a shortcut, how to put this all into practice, and even look at what comes next. And we'll wrap up with a playbook just for you, the culture architect. Let's dive in. All right, section 1, the good worker paradox. This is that mystery, right? Why do our most experienced, most safety-conscious employees sometimes take the biggest risks? It's not because they're defiant. It's not that they don't know the rules. No, it's something way more predictable, something baked right into our own brain chemistry.
Think about this for a second. If pretty much everyone knows the rules, why do up to 95% of workplace incidents involve unsafe behaviors? I mean, let that sink in. The data is it's overwhelming. It tells us something really important. All the posters, all the training, all the rule books, they're not the whole answer. The problem isn't that people don't know. The problem is a behavior gap.
Okay, so if we agree the problem is behavior, we need a tool to decode it. And that's where we bring in the science. We're talking about the ABC model. Think of it as a framework, a forensic tool, really, that helps us understand the why behind the what.
Now let's be super clear about what behavior-based safety, or BBS, is, and what it isn't. This is not a gotcha program designed to blame the worker. Absolutely not. It's about looking at the system and asking, why did the unsafe choice feel like the easy choice in that moment? It's a fundamental shift from trying to fix the person to fixing the environment around them.
Okay, let's break down the ABCs. A is for antecedent. Simple, right? It's just the trigger. It's what happens right before a behavior. So we're talking about things like safety signs, that toolbox talk you just had, an instruction from a supervisor, all the stuff that's supposed to prompt the safe action. But here's the kicker. They're not nearly as powerful as we think they are.
Then we have B for behavior. And this is key. It has to be something you can actually see and measure. We're not mind readers, right? So we're not worried about attitude. We're focused on the action itself. Is the PPE on? Yes or no? Is the guard in place? Yes or no? It's objective, it's data, plain and simple.
And that brings us to C for consequence. And honestly, this is the whole ball game. The consequence is what happens immediately after the behavior, and it is, without a doubt, the most powerful force in determining whether that behavior will ever happen again. This is where the magic and the problem really lies.
And this is the big reveal, the thing that turns safety management on its head. As safety pros, we dump tons of time and money into antecedents, right? More signs, more training, more procedures. But the science, and we're talking foundational stuff from guys like B.F. Skinner, tells us that's a bad investment. Antecedents are just weak. It's the consequences that hold all the power. So that leads to a huge question, right? If consequences are the main driver, why on earth would anyone choose the risky shortcut? Well, it turns out there's a powerful psychological trap at play. It's a glitch in our own mental software, a conflict in how our brains are literally wired.
Just look at this chart. It lays the whole trap bare. When you bypass that guard, what's the consequence? It's positive, you save time and effort. It's immediate, it happens right now, and it's certain you are guaranteed to save those 30 seconds. Now, what about following the procedure? Well, the consequence you're avoiding, an injury, is negative, sure. But it's also delayed and uncertain. It might happen someday, maybe. Our brains have a really hard time with that.
And that imbalance creates a massive cognitive bias. In the battle inside our brain, the immediate guaranteed reward almost always wins. It's just how we're built. Saving a little time and effort gives you a tiny, immediate hit of satisfaction. It's real. The risk of a future injury, that just feels abstract. It's a maybe. And our brains are wired to choose now over maybe.
Okay, so how do we fight back against our own brain chemistry? We can't rewire ourselves, but we absolutely can re-engineer the world around us. We can change the consequences, and this is where we get practical. This is how we put BBS theory into action.
This is the engine of a BBS program, the observation cycle. It's a constant loop. First, you observe, using a checklist of critical safe behaviors, nothing subjective. Then, you provide feedback right away, on the spot. And this is crucial. You catch people doing things right. Then, you take that data, analyze it for trends, and use it to reinforce all the good work happening. Suddenly, safety isn't about counting accidents after the fact. It's a leading indicator you can track and improve, just like any other business metric.
And don't just take my word for how effective this is. This proactive, data-driven approach is so powerful that it's a foundational element of OSHA's Voluntary Protection Program, the VPP. I mean, that's the absolute gold standard for safety in the US. This is how the best of the best move from just being compliant to building a culture where safety is a core value.
But, no system is perfect, and as safety leaders, we have to be honest about that. So let's talk about the critiques of BBS and what the next evolution in safety thinking looks like.
Okay, here's the #1 criticism you'll hear, and it's a valid one. If a BBS program is rolled out badly, it can absolutely feel like a blame the worker program. It risks putting all the focus on the person at the sharp end of the stick, while completely ignoring the management decisions or broken systems that put them in that tough spot in the first place.
That very critique is what has helped push safety science to evolve into what we now call human and organizational performance, or HOP. It's a great way to think about it. If BBS is the microscope focused on individual behavior, HOP is the wide-angle lens looking at the whole system. HOP starts with a totally different belief. Not that we can eliminate human error, but that human error is inevitable, so we'd better build systems that can handle it.
The core philosophy of HOP is really elegant. It's this: stop trying to create perfect workers. It's never going to happen. Instead, let's build forgiving systems. Let's assume mistakes will be made and ask ourselves, how can we design this job so that a simple mistake doesn't lead to a catastrophe? It's not about throwing BBS away, it's about building on top of it.
So, let's bring this all home. What does this mean for you, the modern safety professional? Your job isn't to be the safety cop. Not anymore. You are a culture architect. Your job is to design a workplace where doing the right thing is also the easiest thing.
All right, here it is, your playbook. Print this out. First, consequences are king. Antecedents are weak. Second, stop just punishing the bad. Start celebrating the good. Catch people being safe. Third, immediate positive feedback is your superpower. Use it. Fourth, blame fixes absolutely nothing. You have to understand the context. And finally, remember your real job, to re-engineer the system of consequences.
So, I'll leave you with this last thought, and be honest with yourself. Have you ever bypassed a safety rule to get a job done faster? Think about why. What was the immediate, certain payoff that made that risk seem worth it in the moment? Because when we understand that in ourselves, we can start building systems that work for everyone. If you want to dive deeper into workplace safety and OSHA rules, make sure you subscribe to HSE Study,